The Eagle Eye Podcast. The #1 show to bring you all things Club América in English. From tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be recapping that 1-1 disappointing draw against FC Juarez to kickstart the season. We'll also be talking about the latest transfer news as América has confirmed their third signing of the season. And of course, we got two previews for you today. It is the game against Xolos, and of course, lastly, we'll preview the game against Toluca for the Campeón de Campeones matchup. And joining me today to talk all things Club América, it is none other than New York's own Alexis Juarez. AJ, how are you, man?
Doing good. It's the start of a new week, and what better way to start the week off by talking all things Club América?
Absolutely, yeah. We're recording this on a Monday, so when you guys listening to this, it's probably gonna be Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, it's been quite a couple of days, AJ, since we last saw América play against FC Juarez. We were going into this game thinking, what is the optimism here? How's América going to go out? What type of América are we going to see, especially after that game we saw, that friendly against Puebla that left us with more concerns than, actual good feelings. You feel like that or the same way? What do you think? How do you feel right now?
Still skeptical of this team, really. Just from the performance that we had, it still raises questions to whether, is this team going to fix the way that they're currently playing right now, or is this going to drag on throughout the whole season? So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's the beginning of the season, so maybe give them some leeway, but at the same time, there's still concerns about how this team is going to be playing throughout 90 minutes of football week in and week out.
Yeah, that's the most concerning part about it. But I do think that we are a little bit rushing to criticize this team. You're right. It's the first game of the season, right? These things kind of tend to happen, and if we look at the track record that América had in the past couple of years, the first jornada usually never really is a promising one, right? Back when we won the illustrious 14th, we lost against FC Juarez at home, and then when we won the tricampeonato, we had lost to Atlético San Luis away. So I get it that there is very much a silver lining here that eventually América can and most likely will turn it around. I guess the most frustrating thing about it is just we wanted to see this team kickstart the season in much better form. A 1-1 result against Juarez isn't necessarily the worst result in the world, especially considering how the game kind of unfolded with that red card to Chiquito, with the injury to Fidalgo, with the fact that you didn't have, Malagón or Israel Reyes and Henry still out from injury. So there's a lot of absences that kind of put into different perspective what this game could mean for América. But still, at the end of the day, when you're looking at the calendar, you're thinking that feels more like 2 points lost than 1 point gained.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's definitely a game when you look at it on paper. It's like, yeah, despite missing some of those key players, it's América. We still have the players that can definitely get the job done. Come the first minute the ball was rolling, we're just like, yeah, we don't know. Like, the amount of opportunities we squandered in that final third, which has still been a really big problem since last season. Like, it really goes to show that midfield is dead without Fidalgo. It comes to show there's no creativity. We're having to heavily rely on Brian and Zendejas to try to do everything that they possibly can, which in some case it's maybe giving them the ball too much to the point that Juarez could just read our game plan complete. It's just cover these two guys up. They can't do anything. We try servicing as much as we can to Buffalo. I think I can recall from highlights throughout the game, maybe 3 or 4 good chances he squandered. He could have got himself a goal or two in that game, and I really just don't know more to what Brian and Zendejas can really do to help service Buffalo. And the fact that knowing that no Henry goes to show how weak we are at the 9 spot. We don't really have anyone else that we're having to rely on. Zendejas, who usually is our go-to guy when it comes to scoring goals.
Absolutely. And, we'll talk a little bit more about Zendejas in just a moment. But you're right. There was a lot of frustration from the get-go. A lot of missed passes, a lot of missed runs, a lot of miscommunication on and off the ball. It just goes to show you, right, that this felt very much like a Jornada 1 matchup. The thing is, with América's schedule, with the compact schedule, with the amount of games we're going to have, you'd want them to already have it somewhat figured out, especially when you look at the players that we have. Majority of them have played with each other for upwards up to 2 to 3 seasons. So there should be a better understanding in that sense. But yeah, you mentioned it very perfectly. Regardless of the absences that America had, we still had players that were more than capable of getting the job done. And it was a very interesting starting 11. And then we went back and forth with everybody that was here last week as to, were we going to play with back 4? Chris kind of mentioned that he was leaning towards a back 5 with just some of the signings and some of the way that the squad is shaping. Ultimately, Jardine gave us a very interesting back 5 formation. It was Rodolfo Cota and net because of Malagon's vacation. The center back trio was the most interesting out of this whole lineup, which was Igor Lichnowsky, Sebastián Cáceres, and interestingly, Cristian Borja was playing as a left center back, which is, I guess, it's not a completely new role to him. I know that he had adapted that system a little bit in Europe, and I know Jardine was talking about that after the game. But a lot of questions as to why him in that position. Maybe why not a Miguel Vázquez instead, right? He played a couple of youngsters like Orquín and Dagoberto on the wings. I would imagine mainly because he wants to get these minutes in. So you would think Miguel Vázquez would have been a perfect fit, but he wanted Borja for some reason. Borja seems to be, I would imagine, a Jardine favorite, even though a lot of people do not like hearing that from us in regards to Cristian Borja. But yeah, that was the defense with, like I mentioned already, Dagoberto and Ralph Orquín in the fullback position. In the midfield, only 2, which I thought was interesting. Eric Chiquito Sanchez and Alan Cervantes. On the quote-unquote wings, they were more of like tucked-in wingers than anything. It was Brian Rodriguez and Alejandro Sendejas, and up top, it was Buffalo Aguirre. When you see this formation, honestly, AJ, when I first saw this formation, when I was refreshing the Liga MX page to see when this starting 11 was going to drop, when I saw that, I thought someone in Liga MX made a mistake or something. I was like, there's no way we're coming out with this.
Jardine always gives us surprises. And like we constantly mentioned, I think even before the first one even started, we mentioned with the way that Jardine has been experimenting with 5 at the back since last season, with the players that we do have at our disposal who are capable of definitely playing 5 in the back. So you're looking like our wing backs and Espinosa and Orquín, they spell like, yeah, they're definitely players that can fit in a 5 in the back formation. When you have someone like Borja, who is also flexible in being a left wing back or a center back, and with some of the pieces that we have, I already had a feeling like this might be the formation we're gonna go with 5-2-3, 5-3-2, depending on what players that are available to us. Which we have something we haven't really seen since the Piojo Herrera days, really. It is what it is, and I feel like he's going to lean more towards that 5 in the back formation rather than 4 in the back, considering how leaky we can be in defense at times. I feel like that extra center back really does help us out. What really is not going to help us out is them committing silly mistakes, like, first minute, Sebas Casas already got a yellow, so we already had to play really cautious, knowing that at any point, FC Juarez can maybe try, drop themselves onto the floor or make Sebas Casas make a really dumb foul that can maybe get the ref attention and then give him that second yellow. Don't really like the idea of only having 2 midfielders, especially when there's no Fidalgo. And then when you're looking at someone like Chiquito Sanchez, Alex Cervantes, it doesn't really spell out creativity. It's more of just like, there's a presence in that midfield, but it's more of like, I feel like their bodies, really, they're not ones that are going to be creating any kind of play. In the more the sense, I feel like they're like extra defenders at least to help out or recovering that ball and then really passing off to wingers. But I feel like more in this game with this formation, it's just us like playing kickball into just passing that ball to Zendejas and Rodriguez the whole time and see what they can do, really. I feel like maybe it could just also be first jornada, you're experimenting stuff out, you're trying things out, see what works, what doesn't work, but don't really be shocked if this is something we're going to see more throughout the regular season, where we maybe see some form of 5 at the back with however many players else he's going to put in midfield or in up front.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to depend as to how this transfer market goes for America, right? And we'll talk a little bit about it in our transfer segment, right? With this Brian Rodriguez news breaking, and will there be enough time for America to bring in an actual winger to take in that role and all that stuff? So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot to dissect, like you mentioned, right? A lot of those mistakes, right? And that's literally what this game comes down to, is just those silly mistakes, right? Cáceres getting booked so early on. I mean, he commits like 2-3 other mistakes. He looked very rusty in that game. So very, very fortunate that he didn't see red either. Obviously, the Chiquito Sanchez red card was uncalled for. I don't think you need to make that challenge, right? There's enough bodies behind the ball to to think that there is a way to salvage the play. And it was just frustrating all around to see the fact that, this America team wasn't able to find their footing in this game. We talked about the fact that, Alejandro Sendejas had to be the, I guess, key figure for this matchup, right? And I mean, rightfully so. He's wearing the number 10 now, but this game felt like, you mentioned it, could have used an extra body in the midfield to kind of, balance things out. Alan Cervantes is great at disrupting the play. He's not necessarily great at making, an attack flow or make attacks happen. Chiquito Sanchez, yes, he's very good at that, but if he goes up, he leaves a lot of space that, again, Cervantes will then have to kind of recover and fill in those gaps. But ultimately, I think you need to find some balance in there, right? If you had a Fidalgo with a Jonathan Dos Santos who very much understand each other in that position, I think that works well, even though I know a lot of you are thinking Jonah's already declining. I think he still brings a little bit more than what we give him credit for. Alan Cervantes is very good at the disrupting play, but I think Jonah gives you more building up and passing and all that good stuff. So, yeah, AJ, I feel like, this was a game of pure frustration, but luckily enough, we had players like Alejandro Sendejas who stepped up to the moment, right? And he looked like he wanted to be the protagonist in this sense, right? He was asking for the ball, putting himself in good positions. He was making some good runs. I mean, don't get me wrong, his game wasn't flawless, right? There was a couple of moments where I was very frustrated with Alejandro Sendejas, but he adapted to it. He grew in the role and he understood the assignment in that sense. And so I think it was crucial for him to get that goal. It was great for him to start off the season with that, because I know there's a chip on his shoulder because of not just how last season ended, because he wasn't having his best football, but I think what the present means for him now, right? With the fact that he's gotten this number 10 jersey, he's adapting a new role with Jardinev being more of that creative engine for América. So it's going to be interesting to see how his role plays out throughout the entirety of the season, but it was good to see him shine in this first game. And honestly, AJ, I thought he was offside at first when he scored, so I didn't really get to celebrate right away. But when I saw the replay and I saw he was good, celebration back on full mode.
Yeah, no, I remember even seeing a replay too, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, do not take this goal away from us. And then knowing if that goal got taken away and then seeing that Pizarro header, that really would have been a disappointing way to lose in that game, especially with all the talk that Rodolfo Pizarro had to say about us only for him to score. But yeah, no, thankfully Zinedine scored his first goal as a number 10, which is really nice to kick things off wearing the new number that has huge responsibilities in this club. So good on him overall, and also loving seeing that celebration of the video game like he did for Diogo Jota, like that celebration.
Yeah. Although, the rest of the MX fan base was clowning on him, which is ridiculous. I mean, someone put that, I forget who from the Columbus crew scored and ended that celebration, and basically said no one said anything when he celebrated, but let an América player do it and all hell breaks loose.
The enemy of a Mexican is another Mexican. I think Gignac said it once in an interview. That's so true. It's like no one bats an eye, but it's the moment that one of them does know that there's a problem.
Yep.
It's always us.
It's crazy. No, but you know what? It's regardless. Noise is always going to be noise. But yeah, good for Sendejas. He's always up to date with his celebrations, though. This Jota thing. I remember when the What's Up Brother was becoming a trend. He did it right away too, scoring against New England Revolution. So he trademarks himself for stuff like that. And so I think it's cool. I think it's great. And yeah, kudos to him for having the game that he did, getting the goal. Should have had maybe an assist or two if some of the América players were up to par with what he was playing, but regardless, that's neither here nor there. The only thing, too, after that, though, which was, I guess, the most concerning part of it all, AJ, was the fact that we walk away with an injury with Alvaro Fidalgo getting subbed off after getting subbed on. That was, I guess, the most concerning part of the matchup as well, thinking, we have a big game in Campeón de Campeones coming up this weekend. Obviously, not even considering the fact that maybe he can show up for Xolos, but, fingers crossed that he can. But it all seems to be that he might be okay. He was at training today, not to say that he was, going at 100%, but the fact that he's out there, he's training and not just in the gym, shows that there's, signs of hope for him this Sunday.
Yeah, no, he's much needed in that midfield, considering we really do not have any other creative midfielder in there. So I'm just hoping he takes it easy. Maybe I would consider him giving another rest in this upcoming game against Xolos, same for that Campeón de Campeones matchup, or if they want to try, give him some minutes towards the very end of the match. But honestly, happy to hear that the injury wasn't serious as many thought that they were predicting. So that's really good. So just take it light, and here's to hoping that he'll appear on the bench for these next upcoming games.
Absolutely. Don't even let him show up at the Estadio Azul Crema this Wednesday. Just tell him to stay home, put some ice on
Take that day off.
Take the day off.
Take the day off. It's okay.
We'll see you in a couple of days to go travel to Los Angeles. Honestly, yeah, I think that's the safest thing to do. But I mean, in the end, it's a 1-1 draw. I guess, the optimistic side of me is saying, look, we walked away with something and it wasn't a terrible loss, right? The pessimist in me is saying we dropped 2 points in a matchup that was supposed to be 3 points guaranteed. I think even the commentators were mentioning it before the game started that, the perfect victim for Club América was going to be Juarez, to kind of take off all their energy against them. But I mean,
we jinxed it, honestly.
Yeah.
You were the only one that was correct. Too.
Yeah.
You said 1-1. I said
1-1 draw.
Look what happened.
I felt like I didn't believe in what Harden had available, and I guess I was right for believing in that. But yeah, 1-1. I mean, like I said, not the best way to start off a season, but I guess not the worst way either. So now we look forward to the doble jornada, which is obviously for us going to be this Wednesday, and then of course the Campeón de Campeones, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But all right, let's talk transfer window, AJ. That seems to be on everyone's mind right now. Is what is América doing in this transfer window? We had just talked about the lack of reinforcements and the lack of quality signings from América, right? No discredit to Alexis Gutierrez and Isa Violante, but they weren't really heavy hitters coming into they weren't really heavy hitters coming into this season. And now América has just announced their third official signing of the season, Jose La Pantera Zúñiga, the striker formerly from Xolos, the Colombian striker, makes his way and gives us much needed depth in that striker position, AJ, that we were just mentioning about, right? Giving competition to the likes of Henry Martin, Buffalo Aguirre, a lot of question marks around him as to whether or not he's going to maybe find new ventures this season or what's his role going to be under Jardine now. But I don't know. How you feeling about La Pantera coming to América?
He's one thing to start with, at least nicely. He's a forward that has played in Mexico for the longest time, making his way from Expansión when he played at Potros and played at Dorados de Sinaloa. So, he worked his way up to get to where he's at now when he started at Querétaro. And then having the blow-ups that he had at Xolos, 2 games played, 23 goals scored. That's solid numbers. I also, unless it was everyone's always pointing out the age, but I always like to think of him as a late bloomer too. This is like the same kind of sign that we did back with Henry Martin when we got him 2017, when we looked at that appearance and goals ratio. We're just like, this is the guy that we ended up saying raquetas. That's what we used to call him before. But then look, just the process. Now look how Henry Martin has bloomed under Club América. So I would like to give that same thing with Zúñiga. Give him some time. He really had a good last couple of seasons with Xolos, scoring goals from past 2 jornadas things, 36 games played and then 20 goals scored, which is really nice to see. Despite age, it gives really good competition at that number 9 slot, which we desperately needed. We loaned that Esteban Lozano, so that's already 1-9 that we could have maybe used for this season, especially someone who is of younger age. These on loan. Salas, I really don't know if he might have a role into this team, but knowing that we just signed Zúñiga, he's definitely going to be probably 4th striker. So, it's good all competition for Buffalo and for Henry Martin, as I would say, especially as well to Buffalo. Probably try to start stepping his game up before, he could potentially drop down to number 3, and then Zúñiga probably could be our number 2. Who knows? Potentially number 1 forward that we can start using for the games. But all in all, I like this signing. Maybe a lot of people really don't, just because this isn't Chad Mombas that we were all expecting. But hey, it's someone who brings goals to this team, and that can definitely help us out at that 9 spot, which we're kind of depleted at the moment. It's really only Buffalo. So for someone like Zúñiga to join onto the team, it's a nice addition to the squad.
Yeah, a lot of mixed feelings from the Americanismo on Twitter, at least. A lot of people questioning, you're getting a guy who's in his 30s now, on the wrong side of 30, and is that the type of player that América was hoping for? I mean, his numbers speak for himself, and I'm not discrediting the fact that he's probably not a good pickup for América. But again, you feel like this is one of those signings that you're thinking, if it works out, great, but if it doesn't, a lot of heat is going to come down on you for this. So it'll be interesting. Like you mentioned, his track record shows that he's a player that's gonna work hard, right? And so I think we need players like that that definitely will bring in the best for Henry. I feel like he needs some competition, right? Buffalo wasn't really doing it. I feel like Henry felt very much secure that no matter what, he was going to be able to walk into the starting 11. Now, depending on how Zúñiga does, I think that might light a little bit of a flame under Henry and, of course, Buffalo. We'll see what happens. But I personally think that this is an okay signing. Like I said, let's give it time, like you mentioned, and then we'll see how this plays out. I feel like we could have gone in for maybe like a 28, 27-year-old striker that maybe could have panned out for the long run, but we'll see. Again, we'll see what happens. Got to give at least somewhat faith to this board to bring in the right players, and we'll see exactly going forward. But besides that, that's pretty much it. I mean, there is rumors, of course, that América is still going to bring in potentially one more signing. Could be two, AJ, after the Brian Rodriguez rumors that just broke out this morning, but we'll have to wait and see. And I know a lot of you people are questioning and asking, well, what names? Give us some names. Who could potentially become to América? And the only confirmed name that we have, at least that has been talked about openly by a very good reporter, is Guido Rodriguez, right? Mentioned by Merlo, the GOAT of all signings over here on this hemisphere. He spoke about the fact that, he's in talks with not just América, but Tigres as well, as to returning back to Liga MX if he wants to return, right? I don't think he wants to leave Europe just yet. So that is the only thing that is credible, at least as to a name foreseen by América. I know there was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here? There's a lot of friction going on in the Americanismo on Twitter because Julio Ibanez had mentioned that, someone had mentioned that Julio Ibanez said that América was looking for a forward type player. And Julio Ibanez commented on that post saying, when did I say that? And the guy literally posted the audio clip of him saying that. So, I mean, I'm not saying it necessarily hurts Julio Ibanez's credibility, but I'm just saying it's a little bit funny that this is going on. But I still think that him and Merlo are the two most reliable sources that we have. So until one of those two mention another name, then I think, AJ, as of right now, I think the only name that we have is Guido Rodriguez, and that's not even close to actually happening. That's just the fact that, contact has been made, and we'll see what could potentially happen. But how would you feel about Guido Rodriguez?
The whole thing too, it's like, yeah, he's played in America before. He know what it's like to play for this institution. He's a great player. We've seen how he's played at Betis and West Ham. He's a World Cup winner too. So hey, that's something else. We're gonna bring back a forward player who's now a World Cup winner at Coapa. Things as well. If people are complaining about Zúñiga's age, Guido's the same thing. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's 31. So it feels like most of these times we've been doing, it's like they're adding dead swap. It's like, yeah, but they're also getting old. We're only maybe gonna get another 3 or 4 something years, depending on how long the contract is gonna be. But he'd be a nice addition that he would definitely replace Jonah Dos Santos, which I'm assuming he's probably gonna be retired at the end of this season. So now people's wondering who is our Jonah Dos Santos replace him. He's a potential candidate for that. That's also competition for Alan Cervantes, which is as I really want to have hope in Cervantes, but I don't know if he's like starter quality. So again, someone like Guido is definitely that shouts out starter quality, and he can get that job done and knows his role. I would welcome him back at this team, but for now, we just see what happens.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the fence about Guido. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just of the age issue, right? It's not to say that his talent has by any means fallen off.
Oh, it's there.
But again,
100% still there.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, you're gonna waste a foreigner spot in the player in the midfield that maybe you could potentially look within the league. I know that window's kind of already closed off, unless they haven't played any minutes. So maybe that's kind of fallen off. But I feel like Guido Rodriguez isn't necessarily the move that América needs right now. I think we can do with Jonah for at least 6 more months and find a suitable replacement within that time frame, which I know is probably impossible for this front office staff to do. But still, the time is there. I would hope that this is something that América is trying to do, is find a suitable replacement for Jonah, who eventually is going to be stepping down. But I'm not so sure it's Guido Rodriguez. I think we want a long-term fix. If we're making signings of 30-plus-year-old players, right? And a lot of people talk about Boanga coming to América as well. That's another player on the wrong side of 30. So it's not to say that these players aren't valuable, right? It's not to say that you can't get good years out of them. It's just the longevity isn't the same as when you buy a 25 to 26-year-old. So I'm not discrediting any of those players that I just mentioned to potentially come to America. Would I be happy that they ended up on our side? Yes, absolutely. But I think we just need to be smart about who we bring in for the project, right? Because we talk about an equipo de época, about a team that's going to be able to continue to do this for another 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And are these players, those type of players that are going to be able to give you consistently 3-4 years of really good football?
It's that whole thing as well. It's because they're just aging. We have to now think, okay, we're gonna have to now start thinking of a backup for these guys. But compared to someone who's like in their mid-20s, it's like, yeah, they're secured for some time. At most, you maybe just need to just get a backup to them in case something goes wrong. But other than that, it's like you really don't have to worry about that. So that's the whole thing too. Just like thinking strategically, knowing that, yeah, these are the players that we're looking for, but also like you mentioned, the longevity. How long they're going to be able to maintain this level for before, we're going to have to get someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is just my thing with some of the names that are being thrown around. I just want to see someone that's a little bit younger, obviously, that does bring and offer a lot of talent as well as longevity, like we mentioned. And that was up to everything that we had in regards to the transfer window until news broke out this morning that a team from Saudi Arabia, pardon my memory here, AJ, but I forgot the name of the team that was...
Al Rayyan of Qatar.
There you go. I'm not even going to try to say that again. But a Qatar team has come out and said that they want Brian Rodriguez, and that they're willing to spend $7 million on Brian, which I think America would maybe be thinking about it. Would they value him a little bit higher? I would assume. It's like we mentioned, AJ, off the podcast before we started recording. If it's a decent amount of money that you're getting, and you think you won't get a suitable offer from him, at least this transfer window, do you bite it? Do you take it and then run with it, or do you just kind of maybe hold off? And I mean, Brian still is a very key important player to Jardine, only because he's the only winger left in the team.
It's best, honestly, to keep him, though, because I want to avoid a whole nother Richard Sanchez situation where we sell a play and we don't have a signing to back it up for that as well. But then also comes the whole thing, yeah, if we get someone else in Rodriguez's position as competition and potentially lose a starting spot, then comes the whole thing where now he wants out because he lost that. That was a whole kind of drama that happened a year ago or so. Want to go to Fiorentina, then the talks didn't happen, and then mention that we bring someone else, he's gonna then want to request to leave. But I mean, see if we can try to get more money out of it, or if we want to just sell him now, just please find someone to replace Brian, and then everyone can be happy. But
I think that's the one thing that scares us all. It's not the fact that will we lose Brian, it's will we get a suitable replacement in time. That's the thing, yeah. Right? I'm not saying that we're in the middle of our season, but that's when you could potentially see the reinforcement come, which is in the middle of the season, which is ridiculous. With the transfer window closing in September, I don't know. It seems ridiculous to me, but we'll see how concrete this all is at the end of the day. We were here last year with Fiorentina, like you mentioned, right? Where it was like 99% secured in the bag, and then 1% that 1% just happened, and Brian Rodriguez is still here with us. So we'll see. I think, yeah, he's still a very good player. I think he's gonna be very important with America if he really wants to make it to the World Cup next year. He's gonna have to play tremendously well for us, and I think that might be nothing but beneficial for us. So we'll see. Would I want to keep Brian? Yes, of course. If the money's right and we have a suitable replacement, then I'm all for it. Let's do it. Let's get it. And let's go. Then let's continue moving forward with that. So that is our transfer window update for you guys. Look, if you guys want to know more as things happen or as things drop, head over to our Twitter at Eagle Eye Podcast. We keep you guys up to date with everything going on in the world of the transfer rumors. Chris actually has Cesar Meadows lives on notification. So whenever he goes live for whatever reason to break news, Chris is usually the first one in that chat right there talking about it. So we're very much up to date. We're keeping tabs on all of these reporters, on all of these America players that could potentially come in or potentially leave. And we're going to keep you guys up to date minute by minute with what goes on throughout this entirety of the transfer window. Like I said, it's not closing until September. So we got another month and a half of this, so strap in and let's see what happens with America in this transfer window. But all right, coming up, we have the preview against Xolos and the preview of the Campeón de Campeones. All right, AJ, the game against Xolos, honestly, it's not a 6-pointer, but in a sense, it's a very much must-win game for America after the result that we had against Juarez, right? You feel like this team needs to secure 3 points and they need to boost morale ahead of the Campeón de Campeones matchup. That just seems like it needs to happen. I don't know. Do you feel any other way? Do you think that this game is maybe just another one of those that we can throw away to the side? Or do you feel like me that, hey, we need to take this game serious, we need to get a result going, and we need to start building some traction here?
We need momentum into this because the upcoming game that we have against Toluca, that's a really important game. There's a trophy on the line for us that we can win in our first piece of silverware. I would like for us to win this game, so that makes the players confident knowing that, all right, let's get our revenge for the upcoming game against Toluca. For now, just also them is just focus on this match, and they need to go for that win. We're capable of getting these 3 points against Tijuana, but this is also against the Tijuana side that so far they've won their last 4 games, like the last 4 games that they played all in a row. So this is like a team I would not underestimate at all, especially since we'll be playing away, and away games it's always been a problem for this América side.
We're playing
we're playing at home? Oh,
yeah, we're at the Estadio Azul Crema for this one.
Lovely. So, but besides that, no, it's a must-win for me, in my opinion. They need these 3 points. We let go of 3 points in the last game against Juarez. In this one, I would not like a repeat of that again.
No, absolutely. And I think that's why I echo the fact that, this is a very must-win game, even though that on paper, a lot of people wouldn't be like, oh, Xolos, it's a must-win game. It is definitely a very winnable game when you think about it. But again, you mentioned, don't underestimate Xolos. They've been doing things right, and they didn't have the best showcasing against Querétaro, but they still got the 3 points, and I know they got it through an own goal, but whatever, they still merited their result. So at the end of the day, America needs to do the same. It's not going to be easy, although I would love for them to kind of shut us up here and score 3 on the night, which would be great for that momentum. But again, if we need to grind out this result, as long as we walk away with a victory, and that's something that you can hold on and build upon to this Sunday's game against Toluca, then that's crucial, right? You need whatever you can in order to augment your season in the right way. So yeah, this game against Xolos is scheduled to be played on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Game will be broadcasted on TUDN and Unimas, and I believe VIX as well. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe it should be on VIX as well. And hey, if for whatever reason you can't watch it because you don't have any of these channels, well, guess what? You can visit your local Tom's Watch Bar and you can go catch that game there. Because as was mentioned before, Tom's Watch Bar, official home of Club América in the United States, will be showcasing every single game for whatever game. Could be league game, Leagues Cup, friendly, doesn't matter. América will be on the screen. So if for whatever reason you fancy a really good burger, some really good wings, and a good drink, head on over to Tom's Watch Bar to catch the América game. And yeah, that game, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, TUDN, Unimas, VIX, and of course, catch it at Tom's Watch Bar. AJ, will we see Zúñiga debut against his former side? Do you think he'll at least make the bench, right? I mean, that's logical to think, right?
I could see him being on the bench, maybe not start yet. I feel like we either might see another Buffalo Aguirre start, and then if things maybe don't work out, I'd say maybe give until like 50th, 60th minute, and then we can see Jose Zúñiga make his debut for América.
Yeah. I mean, if for whatever reason Zúñiga does start against Xolos, it'd be a big diss to Buffalo Aguirre, no?
Hey, he's got to then think to himself, start working harder. Don't mess up those opportunities that everyone is giving to you, and maybe you might get the start back. But hey, it is what it is. You're not given the starting spot immediately. You got to work for that. So yeah, that might be a wake-up call for him if that's the case, if Zúñiga does start.
For whatever reason, which look, we're not saying he's actually going to do, but in the 1% that Zúñiga does get the start, it would mean that there is trouble ahead for Buffalo. But again, it could bring out the best of him eventually. So let's talk potential lineups now that we're talking about who is going to start and who might not. I think it's safe to say that Luis Ángel Malagón will be back in net after his vacation from winning the Gold Cup with Mexico. I would imagine, just because of the fact that, we've got a couple missing players, right? Chiquito Sanchez with that red card means that he won't be available for this game, will be available for the Toluca one. No Fidalgo, like we mentioned already. So I feel like, again, he's going to want to overload as much as he can in that defense just to kind of secure the back line and maybe build upon counterattacks, exploiting space, etc., etc. We're going back again to the back five. So I don't think it changes much, with the only exception is I think Israel Reyes comes in for Borja.
I was gonna say.
So
I was gonna. Yeah.
yeah. So we have Dagoberto on the right, Rafa Roquin on the left. Those are our two fullbacks. The center back trio is going to be Israel Reyes, Igor Lichnowsky, and Sebastian Cáceres. By the way, Igor Lichnowsky did not miss a beat after being out for over a year with América.
Solid.
Looks solid, and he brings a lot of comfort to me whenever we have a set piece or a set piece against us or a corner kick against us. I feel like Igor is going to be there to save the day, which he was in a couple of times. He's very tall, and he reads the aerial game so well that, God, we could have used him so much in that final against Toluca. But that's the center back trio that I think is going to go. And I think in the midfield, just because of the limited options you have to throw in Cervantes and Jonathan Dos Santos in there, which is interesting because it's like you're playing with 7 defenders.
You think Alexis Gutierrez could take that spot? Because I think he could play center mid. You think he will take Cervantes' spot and you pair him up with Joana?
I think it's either or. It's either Gutierrez will start, and honestly, I had forgotten about Gutierrez. Oh my God. Yeah, I would. No, yeah, that's great. Then it's going to be Gutierrez and Alan Cervantes. I don't think we're going to see Jonah until maybe the Toluca game. I just think he wants a little bit more legs for this Xolos game. So Alan Cervantes and Alexis Gutierrez in the midfield, and your trios up top is going to be the same. Sendejas on the right, Brian on the left, tucked in, of course. And then, of course, up top, Buffalo Aguirre. Unless that 1% gives and Zúñiga starts. But that is, I think, the safest lineup that we can probably give, AJ.
Yeah, I could say that. Or for some reason, Johnny wants to throw us a curveball. We see Folstein Davila up front.
You know what? Crazier things have happened, AJ. I wouldn't be surprised if Davila somehow finds his way into the starting 11 then.
But yeah, no, like the lineup, I think with some of the missing players that we're gonna have and some of the changes, I feel like that's an accurate depiction of what our lineup could be on Wednesday night.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, the keys for América, if that is the case, it's gonna be exploiting any space that not Toluca, sorry, I'm already thinking about Campeón de Campeones, that Xolos gives you, right? It's not to say that we're gonna give Xolos the ball and say, look, come attack us. América is going to, again, be very much dominant like they did against Juarez, but exploit any and all spaces that Xolos gives you. Sendejas is going to be key to unlocking that, right? Brian Rodriguez is going to have to be in his A game and be very decisive in the final third in order for things to work out for América. And like you mentioned, if Buffalo starts, take your opportunities and don't mess up, because now you actually have your competition on the bench waiting for you to make that one small mistake that he can then pounce upon. So I think that's just the keys to América victory is going to be obviously the retention of the ball, but how you work it is going to be just as important. Exploit the spaces, build up the play through Sendejas, let him unlock the channels. And just be clinical in the final third. Absolutely clinical. Not to say that Xolos is not going to, put up a fight, but they will have, I'm assuming, 1 or 2 opportunities. That's what we're going to have to see. Can the defense come up big in those moments? And can Malagon, again, be the savior for América? So that is kind of what we're projecting for this preview against Xolos. What is your scoreline prediction for Wednesday, AJ?
2-0. I want a clean sheet.
I'm loving it. Clean sheet. I love me a clean sheet. 2-0. All right. You know what? I hope I'm right here. I'm going 3-0 América. And I know we just talked down upon this whole squad, how we're not going to have a bunch of players and how we were giving so much flowers to Xolos. But I think América can unlock this Xolos defense. I think they are capable of producing big. And I'm looking at the front three to make some magic happen. We saw little glimpses of it against Juarez, and I feel like they needed that one game to kind of iron out those little details. And hopefully against Xolos, since it's such a quick turnaround, they're able to kind of perfect it and get back to the way that, we know that they can play together. So 3-0, another Sendejas goal?
Yes, he's scoring.
Absolutely.
This.
I'd love that. I'd love to see that. I would love to see another Sendejas goal. So we're going 2-0 for AJ and 3-0 for me. And a W is all we honestly want at the end of the day. But again, should be an interesting one. Follow us on all our social media platforms at EY Podcast. That's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. We'll keep you guys up to date with everything going on in the world of Las Águilas and América and throughout this matchup. Can't wait. Should be a good one. Again, this Wednesday, so the turnaround is super quick. And now we need to talk about the big one, the big game, the one that matters probably the most, AJ, the Campeón de Campeones. How are we feeling about this? We're playing up against Toluca again.
Let's fix on our mistake that we did in the final and get our revenge in this. Sure, it may not be a league title, but it's a piece of silverware that's on the line, and it's something that we can definitely use. We'll have some of our players, we'll have some of our players back that are much missed in the squad. It's going to be against a really good Toluca squad. We see how they played against us last time. I seemed like they wanted it more than us from that last game. So it's time to rewrite things and get a revenge against this Toluca team.
Absolutely. It's got to be vice versa now, right? We need to be out there and we need to want it more. Because honestly, if I'm an América player and I'm looking at this opportunity to get my leg back. You took away the opportunity to make tremendous history in a tetracampeonato, right? You ridiculed this club and you made them look like they were practically non-existent in that sense. So of course, this is huge. This is a big opportunity. And the fact that this game does hold just as much weight, I feel like, as a real regular final. It's the champion of champions in a sense, right? It's who can hold themselves the glorious champion within the year of Liga MX. And America has that opportunity to continue in the footsteps that they had continued to do, right? To continue to walk that path that they had already paved, where, hey, this is natural for this team. This team of Época, this dynasty, and winning trophies is what we do. So look, another final, right? In 2-3 months. It's crazy. But it's to kickstart the season in the right way. Honestly, probably the most important matchup that you'll have this semester, this Campeón de Campeones matchup, aside from the league final, if you're able to make that. You got to go out there and you got to give everything. You got to give it your all and, crown yourself. America's no stranger to crowning themselves at Dignity Health Sports Park, right? Done it a couple of times with Campeón de Campeones. It's a very illustrious Interliga championship that America won there against Cruz Azul as well. So, a lot of history in that stadium. Hopefully, we'll again favor and side with America. But yeah, this game is crucial. It's huge, and it's not to say that this matchup will be detrimental if America doesn't win it, but still, it means that, it just means all the chips are on the table for this matchup. So, game is scheduled to be played this Sunday at 6:15 p.m. Weird time to kick off, but 6:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:15 Eastern, AJ. So, it's going to be a little late one for you guys over on a Sunday. This game will be broadcasted on TUDN, and I believe Univision as well.
Yeah, Univision.
Yeah, these games usually go out on local TV, and of course, Tom's Watch Bar. If you wanna enjoy, if you wanna end your weekend right and watch America lift a trophy, go to Tom's Watch Bar. Have a good time, have fun, experience it like nobody else will experience this America game. 360 full round TVs of nothing but America. I mean, what more do you want? So, like we mentioned, the rematch and a chance to get revenge for the title upset last season. I mean, this game kind of writes itself, right? So how are you feeling coming into this one? I know a lot will kind of, a lot of how we're feeling might change after the Xolos matchup for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. But right now, in this moment, in this instant, how do you feel coming into this one?
With revenge in mind, like you mentioned earlier, we could have made history. That team took it away from us. Now it's time to take something from them back. They want to win that Campeón de Campeones, but we need to show that we want that more. You may have that league title, or you're not getting that trophies to show that you're the true champs of this league. So for me, it's really important for this team to get themselves a piece of silver to put into that trophy cabinet, and then to even just rub some salt on the wounds on Toluca fans and to the players as well. So I would just love for this team to give their full fight, 110% for the full 90 minutes, whether it will end in regular time or if it's gonna go into penalties. Just I want to see that these players that they really want that revenge. They want to get the bragging rights for that matchup on Sunday.
No, absolutely, I agree. I believe that this is that type of matchup. Like we continue to mention, this word revenge just seems to be continuing to echo for at least this part of the segment. And look, Toluca is going to come in hot, right? They just beat Necaxa and they're going up against Santos, who I know there's a lot of memes going around that, Santos is back supposedly. After the result in the first jornada. But look, honestly, I believe Toluca can get a result right there as well. So they're coming in pretty hot, knowing that they're coming into this matchup against América, knowing that all the chips are on the table for them. And so, again, this is something that you have to keep in mind and that you have to be aware of when preparing for these matches, and know that, hey, this team is going to come in with that same winning mentality that they did whenever they played against us in the final. The only reason that they beat us is because that they wanted it more at the end of the day. We didn't take our chances in the first matchup. This is a one-off game, AJ. It's do or die in that moment. So whatever chances you have to be clinical. And I think America is very much capable of producing chances. And obviously with the players that are going to hopefully be back for this matchup means that we're a much, much stronger team. And look, I'm not saying, but maybe in the realm of possibilities is that we could get in maybe a Boanga-esque type of player. And for some reason, he gets minutes in the second half and can help bolster that attack for America. Not saying that it's going to happen, but, in the crazy what-if world of America, if it does mean, then that's an added bonus, Potential lineups for this one, I don't know. I digress to see, are we going to go to the back five? Are we going to go back to the back four? It's hard to say, but just with what we know, at least with the players that we're anticipating returning, I would dare to say that we see a back four. If I was to be a betting man and I would put a lineup right now out into the world, I would put Malagon in net, Kevin Alvarez on the right, Ralph Furquín on the left, Igor Lichnowsky and Cáceres as the center back partnership. In the midfield, you have Jonado Santos with Alvaro Fidalgo and Eric Sanchez mixed in there as well. And on the right, Sendejas left, you have Brian Rodriguez. And up top, rumor has it Henry might be available for this matchup. But if he is, he's not going to start. He's going to come off the bench. I want to say Zúñiga if he gets maybe a goal against Xolos and just ride the wave. If not, then of course Buffalo Aguirre. But still, whoever's up top needs to put in a shift. So I think we're capable of getting the result, capable of winning this in 90 minutes, AJ. But if not, then I guess our depth is going to be tested.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate prediction for the starting 11. Just put out the best players that you possibly can for this match and hope for the very best.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Scoreline predictions for Campeón de Campeones, AJ. What are you going with?
I want to say 2-1. If it's going to be a back and forth match, I feel like we'll score first. They'll get one back ball. Then I'll see towards the very end of the match that América gets one back and just holds it off for the win in regular time.
2-1. Not bad. Not bad. I like it. I'm going 2-0. Gonna be adamant here. I'm gonna be very optimistic with both of my predictions here for América this week. It was a very dull and tasteless América last week. And this week I'm expecting a very much bright and happy América. Hopefully bringing us joy and hopefully bringing us another trophy celebration. So yeah, look, we're excited. We're going to keep you guys up to date with everything going on with Campeón de Campeones. We'll get you guys a full article preview again once we get closer to the date. We're going to let the Xolos match just kind of wrap up and finish up, and then we'll kind of give Campeón de Campeones the proper attention that it deserves, because I do think a lot will come. A lot of things do factor in after the Xolos matchup, right? We need to see what happens with a couple of players and, of course, the morale and the rhythm and all that good stuff. But still, we're very adamant and we're very hopeful that this Campeón de Campeones will go in America's direction, AJ. And it's huge because, look, you win Campeón de Campeones, you get an opportunity to go and play against the LA Galaxy in the Campeones Cup, and you get a chance to be a bicampeón in that tournament if you beat the Galaxy, right? So it's little stepping stones in order to continue to make history in that sense.
Yeah, no, and it's another piece of silverware that we can win too for us. So hey, potential 2 trophies right there that this America side can win.
Absolutely. I guess that's all I have in regards to today's episode. Will we be at the stadium for the Campeón de Campeones? It's still up in the air. Still waiting to hear about credentials. And once I have word, we'll let you guys know. And if we are there, I'd love for you guys to come out and talk to us. I'd love to interview a couple of you guys. Come say hi. Let's exchange some thoughts and some ideas with this America game. So big week for America, obviously midweek matchup, and hopefully a couple surprises along the way. With that said, AJ, I think we've pretty much talked about everything.
That's everything, yeah.
Alrighty then. Well, that I guess is gonna do it for us. AJ, anything else to add on before we wrap it up?
America Femenil started their season off during this weekend. Beat Cruz Azul Femenil. They get their first win of the season, first 3 points of the season, and the first Clásico win of the season. 2-1 win. Really nice to see.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was again another one of those games where you're like, yeah, this is definitely Jornada 1. But
yeah, no, at least
the ladies came out on top. It was a very it was a very rough game to watch at times. But no, shout out to the ladies. I know that they definitely had a lot of absences and still were able to produce a good matchup, a good game. Shout out to Kiana, shout out to Scarlett, both getting goals on the night. Shout out to Baños. My goodness.
Baños was having one of the games of her life. In a game of the season, and it's Jornada 1, mind you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just phenomenal save right at the end to make sure that Cruz Azul don't tie it up. And then just moments later, Camberos gets the penalty. I mean, you could it's cinematic in a sense if you think about it in a way. But yeah, no, shout out to the ladies. Great results, great job. Look, if you guys are interested more about the ladies, make sure you guys follow us again on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. We'll keep you guys up to date. AJ does a phenomenal job keeping up to date with the ladies and giving them the attention that they deserve, the goals, gifts, and all that stuff, courtesy of him. Another season, AJ, and hopefully this is the one.
Please. It's we're at the part where it's like we're gonna make a sign and it's like that's why ilusionan. Like we're gonna start dreaming now. Please, may this season be the season we get to a final and lift the third trophy. Please,
Yeah.
all I ask.
Yeah. Same. I think that might be the case, especially with some of the rumors that America is going to be getting some really good reinforcements this week. Potential Barcelona player.
Yeah. So
Interesting stuff happening in the world of America Femenil. So let us know what goes on in your guys' thoughts in regards to this season. But yeah, excited to see that both the men and the lady have kick-started. And yeah, one last thing about the ladies. They debuted the home jersey. Chef's kiss, man.
Beautiful.
Phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Can't wait for the men to play in it on Wednesday. And we'll just go from there. All right, with that said, we'll be back to talk all things post Campeón de Campeones next week. And then, of course, get you guys ready for the game up against Necaxa, the last matchup before our Leagues Cup break. So a lot of stuff happening very quickly for America here at the beginning of the season. But we'll keep you guys up to date with everything. AJ, thank you so much for taking out the time and talking all things Club America with me, man. This has been fun. This has been great, man.
of course, always nice to be on here, especially after like my hiatus from appearing on podcast episodes for some time. So it's nice to talk on here again.
No, absolutely. We're glad to have you back, and hopefully next week we get a couple more familiar faces on the show as well. We'll see what happens. But with that said, you guys have a wonderful night. You guys have a wonderful day, and have a wonderful week. And hopefully, it's a very glorious week when we come back and talk all things Club America. Until then, take care, and as always, arriba la America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.